All right, guys, let's get this party started here. All right, we got a Mama Max, a Mother Maximus update. I don't know if you guys remember this guy. I have some videos about the situation. If you want to look it up. Papa got Mama Max. This was like some pretty big stuff at the beginning of the year. Mama Max was an interesting YouTuber, rather popular, who centralized his content around calling out, we'll say, bad boys that like to hang out with people that were under 81 in reverse. That was his content. It was like calling out the bad people. It's the beginning of the video, you understand. And then it kind of came out that it was all a big virtue signaling nonsensical thing, and it just went out of control. He ended up getting canceled pretty hard. He got called out by pretty much everybody. It was kind of a fun time. The Leviathans gooned pretty hard. We had a lot of fun with it. And he's pretty much disappeared. The last update I heard was somewhat recently where he apparently started working as some kind of, maybe somewhat of a social worker. And, you know, when I heard that offhand, I was like, you know what? Good for him. Maybe he actually has a passion of helping young people, but he was misguided. But outside of that, that's all I really know. But we're gonna watch some Ordinary Gamers video on it. He was an individual that was kind of working with Mama Max, Mama Max was desperately trying to get him to work with him, but couldn't provide any information, and it turned into a big debacle. So let's see what we got here, baby.
Hello, guys and gals.
Hi.
It's me, Mutahar, and today we're going to be looking at a pretty interesting update regarding Mama Max. Now, usually,
Mommy Maximus.
when I do an investigation on the internet or make a big video, usually the matters are pretty done and dusted right there. I don't really have to go back. But, you know, since then, there's actually been a lot of developments that I think are worth talking about and worth revisiting. Now, to give you an idea, about the end of last year, I covered a creator known as Mama Max, who used to be a friend of mine, all right, a friend of Nexpo, friend of Nick Crowley, friend of a lot of people in the horror community. Now, Max was a content creator that was known for filming investigations and takedowns on unsavory people on the internet.
Yeah, they were very stylized, I'll say that. Very weird, very off-putting how, like, he turned them into... Basically, I think this is the best way to explain it. Mama Max's videos were Jared Leto's Joker. They were just uncomfortable and annoying and stupid, and that's it. So, that's... I think that's the best way to really describe it.
Specifically being unsavory towards those that are not of age, okay? Now, it turned out that I think nearly all of Max's investigative materials were complete nonsense.
Yeah,
now, Max had
much.
an interesting style of producing content, his editing was top-notch, his filmography was great, but the actual subject matter was really a sensationalism of really serious issues in the world.
I forget the specific ages, but I remember he wanted to go after a guy because when he was like 20, he talked to, it might have been a 17-year-old or something. Just some weird... You know how it is. Everything is pedophilia, according to some people. Everything is, pedophilia. Everything is this, everything is that. Nobody has room for intelligence anymore. Thank you for the $5 from Wildo. Do you think CM Punk will finally get a victory over Drew McIntyre in their strap match in Bash for Berlin? Great question, man. I really appreciate that.
All for the sake of making him look better and altruistic and more, I guess you could say, vigilante-like than anything, okay? He really was the quote-unquote wannabe Batman of the internet. Now, on one hand, I really don't care if people produce really edgy content, but they actually get results done. What I get really mad about is when people actually do these investigations and don't do them right, okay? You know what I mean? Like, don't do it justice. Actually get the people who are allegedly... doing bad things scot-free, getting away from stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, again, we don't even know if the people that he was accusing did bad things, because he never provided any real information on it. He never provided any proof. So it makes it a little bit difficult.
So anyways, as I made my video and plenty other creators made their videos as well too, basically debunking Max, we even got into a call at one point where he had legitimately claimed that ChatGPT, the artificial intelligence that some would say is getting dumber over time, can actually be passing on legal
Well, yeah, but that's just because I'm using it.
advice.
All right, let's see, what is this? Oh, not ChatGPT, bro.
Okay,
I remember this.
so
This is wild.
look at what I just sent you.
Yeah, you sent me a ChatGPT prompt, not a fucking legal definition.
ChatGPT understands the legal system.
Which is not true, by the way. Don't even believe that for a second. All right, Max was not exactly a truthful individual. Now, the reason why Max came into prominence was at the time, Max was running a video series regarding something known as God Cult. A cult which was centered around guarding our children, okay? God, guard our children. You get the idea? And
Oh, no. I don't. Why would it be God guard our children? That'd be Gok. God cult? Gok? Guard our dang children. You lustuous termite. That's God cult. Got it. Got him, guys.
The idea was to talk about cults and the impact that they would have on children or really anybody. Now, I think in the true crime sphere, there's a lot of channels that cover cults.
Well, listen, dude. True crime is a fucking nightmare, okay? My thing is, like, true crime, that's cool and all you want to... But it's basically conspiracy porn. That's pretty much what it is. And if you engage in a lot of conspiracy porn, you turn into a demon. You turn into somebody who thinks that everybody's out to rape and molest everybody in the entire world and then blah, 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 blah. It goes insane. And actually, people go so quickly into, like, the conspiracy rabbit hole. And I think it's partly... or partially to blame for some of the mentality that some people have. Like anytime they are confronted with something slightly uncomfortable, all of a sudden they think that it's predatory. And everybody just kind of like spirals into chaos and goes fucking ballistic over everything. It's actually very annoying.
And it's interesting when you look at a cult because sometimes you go all the way from something prominent like Heaven's Gate all the way to the Final Fantasy VII house, which is something that I definitely want to cover on my channel, so somewhere down maybe next month we'll look into it, okay? Max had reached out to a lot of actual channel content creators, me included, and asked if we could join this investigation on a werewolf cult that he had at the time. And now Max had pretty much brought this onto me in the wake of another investigation I was doing with another YouTuber known as Carl Jobs. You probably might know what investigation that is. So I basically told him, all right, hold off, Chief, before I check in. So about a month later, when I was basically chastised into checking in this cult, I had found out that I had to sign up to a Discord server and apparently...
Yes, the cult of Cameron Gerard. I can't do the voice. I'm sick. I'm sorry. The cult of Cameron Gerard Davis, I believe, is what we're talking about. Basically, Cameron Gerard Davis is like, I forget how old he was, but he wasn't even like any older. Cameron Gerard Davis is a black guy with probably autism that had a vampire werewolf cult where when he was like 19 years old, tricked a fat white 16-year-old to go hang out with him, and they did sex stuff. And so I don't care. You know, I mean, who's surprised that an overweight white woman would be attractive to somebody like that? You know, call me Camden Gerard Davis, am I right? Like a moth to a flame. That's it. There were supposedly hundreds of different people, but they somehow couldn't really prove any more than 0 of them. It was weird. My thing is, and I hate to be rude, but like, how the fuck do you fall for a vampire werewolf? Even at 16, you're a little too Twilight brain on that one. And so I'm pretty sure we all knew that it was just stupid. It was a big stupid nothing. That's what it seemed like. I mean, they had no evidence, no proof, and they said they had evidence and proof, but they wouldn't show anybody because we can't show you because we can't go to the police because. Like, shut the fuck up, okay?
Apparently,
Camden was 18. Oh, I thought he was 19. Okay, so 18 and 16. Wow, even better, guys. Wow, what an age gap. The world's gonna end here. If anything, at this point, I think Camden Gerard Davis is the victim of slander. Because what the fuck?
you know, sign some NDA to look at this information. Well, the information that I looked at belonging on the server, which I don't even think is active anymore, actually contained nothing actionable, okay? There was a lot of screenshots, there was a lot of testimonies, but usually in a situation like this, there needs to be some actionable evidence out there. But Max decided to basically jump the gun and start blatantly accusing one individual, Camden Gerard Davis,
Yes.
of being somebody that was offensive towards children, somebody that was preying upon minors, and of course also being a vampire and running a vampire werewolf cult.
Yes, of course.
Okay? Insane.
Now this is the guy, and I don't mean to be rude, but
And of
you
course
ready?
also being a vampire and running a vampire werewolf cult, okay? Insane shit. Now, of course,
come on. You know what I mean? Like, come on. After seeing that, what do you think?
since then, not much has actually changed. Max's entire reputation on the internet has basically been destroyed as people started to peel back
Which is good. I mean, and you have to look back at any of the other older stuff that he's ever really talked about. I mean, if he got that so wrong, who's to say that there isn't more that's wrong?
the layers of his bullshit and really realize that, yeah, this guy's not really a good person. He doesn't care about protecting minors, and his investigations do more harm than good, and that's pretty much the end of that. So, of course, Max since then has pretty much been laying low, but there are a couple tabs that we're going to keep up with. So after we had made the video, he had basically released this one, I guess you could say, January 18th release. If people were silent, nothing would change. Now, this is a 3-minute video that I'm not going to play any second of because I do not want to provide Max the ability to DMCA strike me, even though that I would absolutely take him to court if he tried to. I just don't want to deal with the
Yeah, I get that. That sounds annoying. Do people think that he actually would do that?
stress there. So anyways, this pin post basically
get that.
had Max talking about me and plenty of the content creators and shitting on us for basically critiquing him, saying that, we were basically running this hate campaign against him, and eventually the truth will prevail. Now, since January
I'm waiting for the truth, dude. I'm waiting for the truth still.
18th, I will say the truth has not really come out, and we are in mid-August.
Yeah, he called himself Mama Max, and then they call me Papa Gut. So that's probably not a good association for me to have.
So yeah, still waiting on that there, buddy. So I figured, okay, maybe give the man a month, and maybe he'll learn from his mistakes. Not really. Max posted February 5th on his Patreon, despite the recent defamation campaign. So right there and then, you already know that he's not learned anything regarding the situation, okay? Nothing here mattered.
What's so funny is that there was this moment where like a bunch of women came forward about Mama Max, about how he was like this really bad guy, and we reviewed that situation too. And it seems that like he was an extraordinarily big piece of shit. I don't know if he did anything necessarily predatory, but there was really no evidence for the predatory aspect of the things that he was accused of. And that's a big point that he made. There was no evidence. But then when it comes to Camden Jordan Davis, he has no evidence. But all of a sudden, like, we need to just believe people because why not? So that's also kind of an interesting little thingamajig going on there.
Your support has been invaluable. Unfortunately, our operation here has been severely crippled, so I'm currently seeking local employment. Now, at the time that those videos had come out, Max's Patreon took a sharp nosedive. And obviously, that was the income that he primarily relied on, because Max was uploading at max like a video or two a year, which
Yep, and then people would pay for him. It was just crazy, but people would subscribe to his Patreon because they would have the expectation that he was a guy doing good stuff and getting rid of bad people. So I think he made like $6,000 a month on Patreon doing effectively, let's be real, nothing. So that was fucking amazing for him, man.
which is not enough to make even anywhere decent AdSense to pay for cost of living. So at the time, he was making really decent money on Patreon. And his obvious like demographic was to go against, the really, degenerative society, right? Like people that prey on children. These are people that anybody can look good against, okay? Anybody can look good against.
I don't prey on children. I just pray that children will fall and hurt themselves because it's funny. You know what I mean? And God answers my prayer sometimes.
Against somebody that harms children, okay? They're hated that much in society. Max found a way to somehow screw that up. So anyways, he said, I remain committed to our film
Yeah,
project
pretty
in my
much.
free time. The film project is, we'll proceed with the documentary on Camden after law enforcement has concluded their investigation. Now, this is something you should have done in the beginning, right? This is the thing that I hate the most with people like this, because generally when we come up with an
Well, you should be going and working with the police instantaneously, right? Like, I don't think that's a hot take. Work with the cops. If this is a big issue, go work with police. Like, what a fucking crazy thing.
investigation, we don't even announce the investigation's release date until we actually have something conclusive to work on, right? When me and CoffeeZilla worked on financial investigations, any project that me and him have worked on, there was always the matter of getting the information first and then actually putting it together. Usually by the time there's any announcement that a project is coming out, we've already done all the interviews, notified any law enforcement agencies, done everything we can. There's no point announcing something without having anything tangible, because then if you don't have anything tangible, your reputation takes a nosedive.
Yeah, and then you're also opening yourself up to some kind of a defamation lawsuit. Like, why would you want to be sued because you didn't have the right information, That's another thing, too.
And those are just financial investigations. When dealing with situations regarding children, you want to make sure police are looped in and they're doing all that they can. And you also want to work with law enforcement to tell them what you can and cannot talk about in regards to a video. Max straight up defamed and called this person every name in the book without having something conclusive. And look, that person might be all the things Max accuses him of, but you have to
Yeah, but he has no actual evidence of it, so there probably aren't any of those things, especially since it was like 18 and 16 was the fucking ages, which is wild.
provide the evidence, which Max did not do at all. An extremely detailed response video, Silence All Survivors, is in the works. Given Max's release schedule, I think we'll wait until Grand Theft Auto 7's launch before that happens. Revealing certain influencers'
I don't think he's ever going to release anything. I think that's pretty much it for him.
actions against us, and the survivors we're supporting. Given the sheer volume of attacks, finalizing this project may take months. So this is the thing that drives me insane. Obviously, one of the influencers is me, because
I don't know, man. It kind of feels like he's possibly hiding behind the fact that he takes a very long time to produce content in general. So it's like, yeah, it's going to take us a while because, and in the meantime, hoping that people will just take him at face value for what he's talking about. But he's been thoroughly fucking trashed at this point, which is a good thing. I mean, you don't want people running around throwing off false accusations about things.
because Max was not at all happy with me completely cutting ties with him and exposing his nonsense bullshit. But realistically, when you hear the word sheer volume of attacks, this is somebody that cannot take a single point of criticism. In fact, if anything, their ego is too inflated to the point of actually
I mean, it's funny because even from the start, Mama Max had nothing, and Mutahar was actually very nice to him and wasn't really hammering into him. I mean, if he just took a step back and just kind of went back to the drawing board, none of this would have happened. He made the mistake and still could have gotten away with it. because people still liked him, or at least creators did. But he just couldn't take it back to the drawing board and be like, oh, wait, maybe I should kind of consider this for a second instead of go off on a fucking tangent and destroy my own credibility. But he was used to the feedback of, like, if you say you're trying to help kids, nobody really questions what you're doing too much, which is something that some people will do on the internet, you know. But now we're seeing all these, like, you know, bad guy caller outers aren't such good guys. You know, you got your Mama Maxes, your I'm Alexes, people of that nature, the goody two shoes people who try to present themselves as like these incredible fucking saviors of you know, social justice and children. Yeah, they seem to be fucking scumbags, which is fucking crazy.
Actually understanding where they went wrong and course correcting, which is actually a like mark of somebody literally having a lolcow gene. It seems our detractors will continue to drown out our voices with more falsehoods and accusations until we give up. It's interesting how none of these accusations have ever yet been debunked by Max or
it's crazy because I don't think I covered any of this. At that point, I was like, all right, enough is enough with the Mama Max bullshit, you know?
Anybody on their team, okay? And this is one thing that really, like, if I sound pissed off doing it, it's because I have to deal with somebody that has the ego thinking that they're right, okay?
I love
Nothing
piss.
drives me more up the ass than somebody that has deluded themselves and tries to be smug about it with you, okay?
Nothing drives me more up the ass than a big titty goth girl. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm not a big fan of the goths, you know what I mean? Like, they're cool and all, but I'm just not a big fan of the cutting. Kind of skeeves me out a little bit, you know what I mean?
Okay? That
like, knock it off and get a father. That's pretty much my point.
actually incites me more to dig in and absolutely lay some fire down, okay? But the truth soon emerges as over the horizon. I've not seen the truth emerging so far over the horizon. In fact, I've only seen lies. Stay alert and open-minded until you finally see the other side of the story. Theoretically, I could engage in the same manipulative strategies, align with their adversaries, exploit every rumor and accusation ever made about them, orchestrate gossip amongst our peers to alienate them, and even platform their most abusive ex-partners and past enemies. However, I refuse to engage in such tactics. And
Wait, what? That's fucking crazy. So is he threatening his detractors here? That's fucking awesome.
nobody, you know, who is investigating Max and his bullshit ever really engaged in any of that. Max might be the only one that has ever even come close to doing any of this stuff. There are no adversaries, there is only fact. And the fact was, you had absolutely nothing to go off on, and you tried to basically get everyone to jump on to the SS Titanic of YouTube, which was...
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know the history of Mama Max. I think he's a cringe fucking weirdo, and I've kind of thought that from the start. But here's the thing is that, you know, this isn't even a particularly intelligent point, but when you make a type of content, people want to see more of that type of content. So if you make slime videos, people want to see more of that. If you make prank videos, people want to see more of that. If you make commentary videos, people want to see more than that. And when you make pedophile takedown videos, people want to see more than that. But if you don't have enough pedophiles to kind of... go around, you don't have enough of the content to make, all of a sudden you go around almost trying to make that content. You're trying to find a particular, you know, group of people or type of person, and you very quickly probably aren't going to be able to find the most horrible people in the entire world. And so what do? You're like, well, I gotta find them. So you start kind of making them up, and then you hear about this Camden Gerard Davis story, and maybe you're well-intentioned at first, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna call out this bad guy or whatever because somebody said they had a bad experience. And Spencer's the name of the overweight white woman. You know, maybe Spencer did have a bad experience with Camden Gerard Davis, or you know, whatever. We'll just call him Vampire Werewolf. Maybe she had a bad experience with Mr. Werewolf. But it doesn't mean that it's an illegal experience. It might just be like, oh, this guy's kind of shitty, and then all of a sudden that turns into this big, crazy fucking, you know, situation, and then you're covering it, and you're, you know, these types of things can spiral very quickly out of control, and that's where, I mean, if I'm being charitable, that's what I would say is the issue with Mama Max, is that, you know, he started off well intentioned, and then he needed to find more content, and then you know, you'll find anything you're looking for, but it may not be in its purest form, and that's kind of where we're at, you know? Or maybe he's just a big scumbag that pretended to give a shit about kids to make content because he saw that people are very sensitive to those topics, and, you know, I don't know. Who knows?
Your werewolf investigation. So obviously the community wasn't entirely happy about this. Obviously one of the comments was, I legit feel robbed and exploited, which is kind of a similar pattern of comment that you'll be reading around this. And obviously nobody was really excited about this, okay? Nobody was happy about seeing any of this because it really showed that he had no accountability. Now, of course, May 12th rolled around, 11 days after my birthday. He made a post. I want to remind mothers, fathers, teachers, and guardians how vital you are in guiding future generations through these challenging times. Now, this is a Patreon post that I can't entirely read in front of you, but to give you a paraphrased explanation of this without getting completely struck by Max, he basically said that children
And is he really that worried Max is going to do that? That's funny.
were basically the most important and vulnerable people in this declining world, which I wouldn't really jump and be so doomer and say the world is declining. Fucking leave your house.
No, the world isn't declining. People are just more afraid now than they ever have been before because we have constant social media information blasting things into our brains. And of course, you're going to hear like the worst of the worst that's going on. Right, like you're not gonna hear the best of the best. What emotionally provokes people is hearing the worst of the worst, and so that's kind of what you're hearing, you know.
House and engage in things that aren't social media, life won't be that bad. So, of course, he apologizes for the real-life responsibilities, basically getting a job at this point, because how are you going to fund yourself? And he's apparently still working on these documentaries. And again, never forget to defend children from infinitely growing threats, which, yeah, I mean, of course everyone wants to protect kids. And one thing I've
Not me, dude. Fuck them, kid. But not like that. Okay, relax.
learned covering Max is that when anybody gets so preachy about this, that's always, in my opinion, a bit of a red flag. They're not really in this for the right reasons.
Yeah, of course.
Look, I don't have kids
Just morally masturbating all over your face is what it boils down to. You know.
myself. Maybe one day I will. But obviously, do I like, making sure children are safe? Sure. I just don't have a whole grift dedicated to it. Now, of course, there were still some things active on the internet. Like, for instance, the cult that we were looking at, the Guild of Divinity, still actually has their item shop available where you can buy t-shirts for $25.
Is that a Mama Max thing? The Guild of Divinity? Is Spencer Mama Max? No, Spencer's the overweight white woman that pretended to be predatorized by Mr. Werewolf person. That's who that is.
Don't think things are going to be headed over to you. But, since then, the cult has pretty much died down in terms of operations, it seems, or anything.
Yeah.
Usually when you make an investigation piece and you light up the entire internet with this person's name and information, if they are committing terrible things, what you've basically done is told them, just shut up. Don't make mistakes. And then you're going to make the work of actual law enforcement who are investigating this person that much more harder. To give you an idea about Max's inflated ego, I'm going to play a clip of what he had said in regards to friend of the channel, Moist Critical, when it came to talking about his power and influence on the platform.
I forgot about that. He somewhat threatened Moist Critical to fucking work with him. His project, but he just comes off as a fucking weirdo.
Listen to this.
I could literally cancel you, Charlie. I could literally cancel you. And I choose not to.
Damn, isn't it crazy that Sneeko, not really, but somewhat canceled Charlie? Isn't that fucking crazy? The guy who's actually actively advocating to marry children off to adults, like a legitimate threat perspective to children. It's crazy. Damn. Imagine Mama Max could have had so much fun with Sneeko, bro. He could have had so much fun with Sneeko, but unfortunately he's not a werewolf, so.
It's true though. It's the truth. Like, I'm the friggin' pedo hunter.
Like, dog, who would
Damn,
say
this guy's really full of himself, huh? The pedo hunter. Hey, maybe it takes one to know one, dude. You never know. I don't know.
stuff like that? Okay, who is saying stuff like this? You're the hunter? You can shut down anybody? Get out of here! Now, when Max was asked about his accountability, one amazing video that he had put up, which, by the way, this was an unlisted video with apparently like 4 fucking mid-roll ads. Now, when I was trying to visit things like the Spencer
Hey, make that money, baby.
channel, which Spencer had like a near 5-hour plus video on her channel detailing her actual, involvement with the Sculptor Hole
Yeah, and if you see next to it, it's called Mama Max Dances for Some Children or something stupid for 10 hours. And so that's a 10-hour video of that happening. So that's something, huh?
story.
What
the hell is
was
this
the
guy?
operation? Like, did he tell y'all, like, go to these places and...
So my particular recruitment style that he also encouraged others to do it this way too.
Oh, right. She was the recruiter. He groomed her to recruit the hundreds of people. But of course, hundreds of people, by the way. That's what they claimed, hundreds. Incredible.
Was to go on Whisper and post about, oh, hey, if you want to join a family dynamic and be a part of a pack, hit me up on Kick, or like DM me, and then we'd give them the Kick.
Hit me up on Kick, dude.
So There was one time he did have me lure a girl like physically.
That was something that Max wanted people to like really look at and treat as the principal source of evidence, when in reality it was just a he said, she said situation. There were some takeaways from this entire piece that I remember, which was that basically, Spencer admitted to also praying after minors. Now, granted, she was working underneath this Camden person, allegedly. But the thing about it is being this lead individual, there were a few issues. The way that she described herself made it seem like she was the Ghislaine Maxwell to the Jeffrey Epstein in the situation, the second in command, so to speak. And the other scenario over here that really shocked us was Spencer, the lead victim, was living with Max, who was the investigator. So immediately, if you're financing somebody, giving them room and board, what you do is create a serious conflict of interest. Meaning that if somebody wants to...
I mean, how do we know? Well, here's the thing, because this is what I said, because like he said, Spencer, that woman, was now living with Max, right? So for all we know, she's somebody... If it is true that she was, like, groomed, if she was basically groomed by, Mr. Werewolf... If that is the case, that means that she's somebody who's susceptible to, like, basically grooming. She's emotionally vulnerable in general. So how do we know that Mama Max didn't just take advantage of her, to warp her perspective on what happened? We don't know. We don't know any of this stuff, dude. Okay? I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Question your lead victim witness. They can say that there is a serious financial incentivization, because there is, for her to lie or make up things to attack somebody if she's getting something in return. Which is one of the reasons why when we're investigating people, the last thing we do is give somebody money. And the last thing we do is take any money. Because the exchange of money...
Oh, I'll take all the money, baby.
...monetary goods or gifts can actually ruin an investigation. So that's why we don't do it. Max broke that rule, being the chief investigator himself. Now, since then, I've tried to look up her channel, which was youtube.com at King of Nothing. When I tried opening this channel up, it found out this page isn't available.
I think it was called Auntie Spencer at one point. So it was like Mama Max, Auntie Spencer. Like, what a weirdo, What a fucking just really going along with the theme. Papa Gut.
Now, when you see the monkey, there's a chance that the channel got taken down. So I looked up one of the original URL links for one of Spencer's videos, and it led me to the video has been removed by the uploader. So it makes me wonder if there might be a serious legal implication that these people have gotten themselves into.
Maybe they just want to be careful about it. I mean, there's really no point. They're not going to be able to do anything with it. I'm pretty sure she wanted to make a content. It felt like one of the big points of this in the first place was just to make fucking content.
And some of the statements she made has to probably be deleted, okay? Maybe there is some case going on. Maybe there is some counter lawsuit going on. Who really knows in this situation? But I'll get to some of that later. Now, where it gets really scary here is apparently Max, a couple weeks ago, was spotted working with nonprofit organizations where he was working directly with at-risk children.
Here's my thing. I don't know if that's scary. You would hope that these people would accurately vet somebody like Mama Max. I don't think it gets scarier. I think that it's possible that maybe he's turned a new leaf and people should just kind of let him, maybe I'm wrong, but to me it's like, oh, maybe he turned a new leaf. And he wanted to actually be a positive impact. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to go and help kids in the real world. Or it's possible that he wanted to prey on emotionally vulnerable children. I just don't know if I necessarily see that as as part of his MO. I guess we don't really know. But I don't think it makes it scarier. I heard people got him to lose his job from that. I'm not entirely sure that that's I don't think that. I think that I don't think that that's the right thing to do. Personally, but it is what it is.
Now, somebody that has fucked up investigations for children like this, seeing him work towards that is something that I only see as an individual doing when they want to build up their resume and not really try to make amends. This is some plan to come back to YouTube.
Maybe. I mean, that's possible. I don't know that I would necessarily be like, oh, that's definitely what it is. I mean, it's possible. He's just trying to boost up. I guess I never thought about it like that. The concept that he's just trying to boost up his resume to be able to come back to making content. It's possible. I don't know. I mean, we just don't know. For me, it's like, oh, I think maybe I'm just too well thinking here, but to me it reads more as he's just trying to move on with his life and maybe actually have a positive impact on kids. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to do something that really matters instead of make dumbass fucking YouTube videos. That's the way that I look at it more. But okay.
While saying, oh, look, I worked with this organization, therefore now I have some credibility.
Or, I mean, like, here's the thing, they're generally, there is supposed to be infrastructure that exists to help, train these people in the right way. So, again, my understanding was that he worked as maybe somewhat of some kind of a social worker. Maybe he actually learned how to have a positive impact. I don't know. I think the issue in the role is he had an advocate. How has as an advocate, his history can negatively impact those cases. I mean, maybe, but like, how would they negatively impact the cases? Like, how would his role with, you know, Mr. Werewolf have a negative impact on like legitimate cases of this type of stuff? Like, what is it that you think would happen? And that's like my real question. Like, what do you think would happen? What do you think that he would? What negative impact do you think he would have? Is my real question. I mean, I don't even understand the scope of what it was that he was exactly doing. That would be like a question I would have. But like, what do you think would actually happen?
Give me money again, people. Now, this organization, Texas CASA, which is volunteers that are ordinary people, they come from all walks of life, and just like the children in foster care that they help, so at-risk children, they're basically there for a kid's daily life and serve as mentors and whatnot to get these kids feeling more safe and whatnot. Okay. So apparently this organization, CASA of El Paso, actually ended up saying...
I mean, one of the things that you could say is that he could potentially have a negative mental health impact onto these people by sensationalizing the harm that happened to them, right? So, and this is something, you know, that you have to be very careful about when you're in any type of mental health space. But you want to be very careful not to over-affirm or under-affirm anybody's trauma when you're in this type of space. So, like, let's say that there's a kid that comes from like a rough background, right? You don't want to over or under-affirm what's going on because they're very mentally vulnerable. And if you under-affirm, that is dismissive of what actually happened to them. And if you over-affirm it, it could potentially cause them to have a worse relationship with what happened. You know, you don't want people being like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever, and start having a mental breakdown. You want people to have the most positive relationship with their trauma that they possibly can. And so like the idea is to kind of come to terms with it, understand that it wasn't good, and then kind of move forward. But if you have somebody that does have a history of sensationalizing bad things that happen, like with Spencer, like, yeah, you could make that argument of like he could have that negative impact. I don't know if it's necessarily true that would happen, but that's the argument that you can make in that situation.
Last night at our volunteer dinner to show all our court-appointed special advocates, so the fact that we're dealing with courts and anything in the legal system, given how much of a fuck-up this person is in any legal investigation, is scary. How grateful we are for each and every one of you.
I don't know if it's scary, honestly. I mean, like, he's not going to be acting by himself to I just don't think that it's this threat that people think it is. I think that like he would be working within a legal structure that generally you know, implements some pathways to make sure that people don't fuck up. Not that it's perfect, people still fuck up, but I don't think that he would have like I just don't I mean, to me it just seems like maybe he's trying to actually turn over a new leaf. But
your commitment to walking alongside the children and families of El Paso involved in the foster care system is truly appreciated. So obviously the people involved were these people, but of course one of them we recognize as a friend, Mama Max. So of course, you know, when it comes down to these advocates, right, every child has a chance. I don't really think kids and their investigations have a chance when this scumbag is sitting in your Zoom call, okay?
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that. I mean, we really just don't know. We would have to, I would hope, and I would want to trust the system and, like, you know, the different social workers that I'm assuming he's working with to make the right choice and have the right understanding of what's going on. That's pretty much the most I could say.
And of course, the further we go down, obviously Max's abilities to film make was something that he was helping teach the children, which was probably the only thing that I think he was fit to do in the first place. Anything regarding the...
I mean, if that's what he's doing, there's nothing wrong with that. That's like a creative outlet that a lot of young people could probably benefit from.
Law or justice, absolutely terrible. Horrible stuff to see. One thing that really got me freaked out here was Max's mega upload link. Now, originally, we had seen this link, which was the folder or file was reported to...
It's scary how little of a background check they did. I mean, what would the background check be? What is it that you expect them to do on a background check? Like Google Mama Max? Why would they even know that his name was Mama Max on Google? The background check would be like his actual like government name background check.
Contain objectionable content such as CSAM material, violent extremism, and bestiality. So the link creator's account has been closed, and their full details, including IP address, have been provided to the authorities. Now, back 8 months...
There was bestiality in that link. What the hell? Can I see it to confirm it for investigation purposes?
Months ago, when people looked through Max's Vimeo account, which has a lot of content now unfortunately removed for, you know, investigation stuff, one of them linked to a Pastebin account that Max had apparently owned. 4 years ago, one of these, untitled February 26, 2021, led to a Pastebin where the evidence was located in this mega NZ folder. When going to this URL now, what actually comes out is something something even freakier. So the content you're visiting is because a folder was containing illegal, objectionable content. However, there is a new little blurb here. If you have concerns about your thoughts or behavior regarding sexual images of minors, there is confidential, anonymous help available.
Oh yeah, I think he had like potentially some kind of like actual CP in that pasteman for, you know, research purposes. I don't think he was consuming it, but
The Stop It Now protect
or was it like beating up dogs or something? Whatever, I don't remember exactly what it is.
help people deal with, you know, thoughts about, you know, minors and make positive changes. So interesting blurb to add. And one of these speculations was if it wasn't, you know, illegal material like that, maybe it was something snuff related and whatnot. And the thing is, I would wager that even based on the transparency reports, there is something owned in this account that absolutely broke stuff. Now, at the time, Max even told me that this account wasn't connected to him, but somebody else, which, again, I can choose to believe or not believe. At this point, his trust isn't entirely, trust really isn't there. But at this moment in time, seeing this, if you're affiliated with anybody on your team or anybody close to you that could be uploading this material, that is very, very illegal. You cannot store illegal material, even if you're quote-unquote investigating it, okay? It is illegal to distribute, host, or possess any of this illegal material, which shows me exactly why this fucking scumbag shouldn't be working with kids or anybody in the future. But of course, things escalated even beyond all of this.
Well, I'm just curious, like, what does that mean? Because, like, if he did have some, we don't even know if he had something bad or not in there. But if he had it for legitimate, like, investigation purposes, it's still wrong, it's illegal, and it's stupid. But, like, how would that manifest in, like, a real-life thing? Do you think that he would hold on to, like, a picture of a child or, like, a child porn? He doesn't seem like a child predator. He seems like an extraordinarily stupid person that got YouTube clout over protecting children, and then that got to his head and he spiraled because he had too much power, right? And so when I look at it, like, I guess that's where some kind of risk would potentially be in, you know?
Ladies and gentlemen, because it seems like Spencer, the star witness in this entire charade, came out and basically was not entirely happy with the treatment that Max had provided. So about 2 days ago, one verified update coming from this Mama Max mock team on Reddit said, I have known Spencer since I was 15, want to clear the air, she was always kind to me, so it hurts to post this, but she also kind of abused my empathy to her in the fullest. And I know somewhat enough to, I think, to make a credible post. She did go missing.
Officer, I was just investigating. Yeah, no, I guess I'm just not like 100% sold that this is like a horrible guy that shouldn't have been able to potentially, you know, be some kind of a mental health advocate in the real world, as long as he's underneath some kind of like structure that exists, which you would generally trust to exist. So it's like, you know, some kind of mental health structure, a guidance structure. I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, maybe he got offline and he fucking changed and stopped being a weird fuck. I don't really know though. Who knows?
At a point in time, but knew of Max and Max knew her. So this was not, I came across this as a YouTuber. These people knew each other, apparently, it seemed. Camden did have Spencer come to Georgia. She says she talked her way into getting on a bus. But when she told me the story after years of not seeing each other, because of seeing Camden in the whole situation, then reconnecting, she told me he bought her a ticket. So again, when you have stories that constantly fluctuate, it makes the entire situation unbelievable down the road to the most skeptical of people. I never knew about the vampire werewolf stuff, but I knew she wrote fanfiction about it, and I feel maybe she was so lost on the internet that this fantasy could become real to her.
Maybe that is what happened. That she had like this whole fuck. That'd be wild if she made up like a fucking fanfic and turned it into like a real story. I wouldn't doubt that. Girls are weird. They write like weird fucking fanfiction bullshit, so I wouldn't doubt that. That's fucking crazy.
I don't know. She never told me he would recruit other young underage girls for him. She told me he was doing this to other girls, and it was a cult that everyone was involved in. I think she had this information because of how it would look. Yeah, if you look like the Ghislaine Maxwell in the situation, you're, in my opinion, also just as guilty.
I mean, like, I don't believe her story in the first place. But, I mean, I don't really know the exact, you know, I don't know the relationship Jeffrey Epstein had to Ghislaine Maxwell or whatever, so I can't speak on that. But if it is true that when she was young and she was effectively groomed into being some kind of recruiter, then you probably wouldn't put the same blame onto her because she's warped into thinking that that's acceptable behavior. So I wouldn't necessarily believe that. But I also don't think that her story is true. She's making the claim that like an 18-year-old fucking groomed her when she was 16. It's just it's stupid.
I found out through an edit clip of their podcast that she basically groomed. I was disgusted. So she has no disability. I myself was paid to take her to get it checked out so she could receive disability checks. Essentially, she was denied because there's no disability. Later
she's just fucking lazy.
on in our friendship, she mentioned a guy that has a YouTube channel, Mama Max, who she was friends with for years, wants to help get justice for her and other girls. And it would take some
So she wanted to get the bag from Uncle Sam and she couldn't do it, so maybe she wanted to get the bag from Mr. Gerard Davis instead. Interesting. That's possible.
years to do so. I thought it was
Dude, I actually wouldn't doubt that this person was like so fucking lazy and they wanted to like not have to work to such a degree that because I think part of it is like they wanted to build up her YouTube channel. So what if that's like a big part of it? What if she wants to be famous so bad that she fucking made this up to some degree? And I would almost feel bad for Mama Max for getting like kind of manipulated into thinking that it was real when it seems to not be.
great because she'll be getting justice. She opened up about many miscarriages, and as someone who has miscarried, I also felt bad, but in the back of my mind, found it odd due to the amount of miscarriages. Now, I'm a man, so this whole topic point was not something I was going to go into. If my YouTube channel was my wife, she would absolutely tear into this, being a nurse that she is. She told me that the amount of miscarriages going through just did not add up, okay?
Well, no, I mean, it's very unlikely that she had like 80,000 miscarriages.
Timings did not work the way that Spencer described it. But of course, this is a minor point in the grand scheme of things.
A minor point. You guys get it?
Anyways, not to trauma dump, she would share these stories with other people, and I would introduce her to, and they would always tell me that she is lying, but she's so deep in her lies, she believes them. I have a friend who is a psychologist. We all went to a club together, and when he met her, he said she definitely has trauma, but that unhealed trauma, she's developed a victim mentality.
Bro, there's some weird crybaby in the chat. I'm not really paying too much attention to the chat today. I'm just like a little sick, so I don't really have. I'm not 100%. There's somebody in the chat that I guess sent a message, and then I looked over and they're like, there aren't even that many people. There's only 250 people watching this live. There's no way you didn't see my message. Like, okay, I'm just gonna ban you because you're being like upset. You're getting kind of pathetic. Dude, really, you're that upset that a fat fucking idiot playing World of Warcraft while reacting to a Mama Max video didn't get to you instantaneously? That's the biggest problem going on in your life? That's crazy, dude. It couldn't have been. It just couldn't be me. Frankly, it just couldn't be me. I don't know. It's just me personally.
Absolutely can be a real thing. There's no doubt in my mind that there's probably something that has went wrong in this person's life, but you can either let it frame you as a forever victim, or you can choose to grow up out of it. There's bad things that happen in plenty of people's lives, okay?
Well, I mean, like, she could have just had bad things happen to her, and it might have put her on a path to being kind of a rough individual, but I don't think you have to go out of your way to make up what I think are big lies just so that you don't have to actually work a real fucking job. So
people can work through it, and God bless you if you can. And some people, unfortunately, succumb to it and develop, more, I guess you could say, mental disabilities out of it, okay? Their mental framework just shifts. So obviously, that is just a statement from this person right here, but obviously somebody who appears to be pretty close to the situation. What is important is apparently the messages that Spencer had sent out. Now, I want to preface, anytime I see a message that I haven't myself refreshed, I can't necessarily believe it, but I'm also glad to see somebody is a 5% battery warrior like yours truly. So I ended up moving...
The fuck is a 5% battery warrior? Oh, they just have 5% of their battery life. I can't do it. Once my phone gets below like 30, like not even, like maybe 40 or 50%, I gotta charge that bitch,
And this is from Spencer, apparently. Moving in with the YouTuber that was supposed to help me expose the cult, as it was my last resort. Actually, I think that was described more as of your first, thing, right? Like, to be fair, law enforcement, I guess, weren't taking you seriously. Actually, yeah, I guess it was maybe your last resort, whatever. He promised to cover food, medical, everything. Well, he only wanted to help for the money, so he never paid any of my medical from the start, okay? He was buying food at first.
I don't know if I trust this perspective from her necessarily. I mean, it could be true, but I don't really know. Because her perspective is like, Mama Max is the bad person. He manipulated me. It might be true. Or it might not be true, actually. They might have just both been stupid fucks. I don't know.
But then he tanked his career, which in turn has people convinced I'm a bad person like him, so people are stalking me online. I think when you expose yourself to other internet investigators, your life is going to be looked into. And how are you also not somewhat of a bad person when you yourself have basically admitted to finding minors on the internet?
I don't know, man. It's totally possible. I mean, it's totally possible that he's like this really super duper, incredibly manipulative person and all that nonsense. But it's also possible that she just got fucking caught with her pants down, and now she's trying to pin it onto him to make it seem like she's innocent and all this to preserve, I don't know, whatever credibility she, like, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't really matter, but I guess preserve her fucking credibility.
Drawing them into this. And wants me out because he's not making money off me, but still wants to try to make money off me. He got me a dog and had me move everything I own to anchor me. I figured out a foster for my dog until I can figure permanent housing out, but my biggest issue is needing someone willing to drive the full 18 hours from Dallas to here and here back. Oof. Greyhound...
What the fuck? Yeah, take a bus, man. Take a flight. Sorry, it sucks to suck.
...is an option. I have the U-Haul trailer figured out, but I'm panicked because if I don't get out after my dog leaves on the 15th, I'll be stuck here until after my birthday and have no way to really feed myself. Oh boy. So basically, moving on forward into it, she said, I've basically been having to live off donating plasma because I was limited to remote work. And I don't believe that remote work was actually even being done.
What? How is she limited to remote work if she doesn't have a disability? It sounds like she just didn't really want to get a job to me.
I don't qualify for anything remote due to my experience. I just need to be back near people I know. He's not physically hurting me, obviously, thankfully, Max, but was withholding funds that were supposed to be mine since January. Saw me struggling to donate plasma just to feed my dog and myself.
I mean, I'm not trying to be an asshole. He got you a dog, and you're struggling so bad you have to sell plasma, but you're also still feeding the dog. If you were struggling that bad, and I don't mean to be rude, you would get rid of the dog. And also, yeah, I don't know, man. That's just me.
Gaslights me and also tried to convince me to break up with Michael. What is it up with this Max character and... goddamn. He had $5,000 that he was supposed to give back to me as funds for the survivor of the cult, but everyone else fucked off. Now, mind you, at the time that money was being exchanged, Spencer was basically getting the lion's share of funds, and there were some people apparently struggling to buy diapers for their kids. It was an insane situation. I asked for the money every now and again, but his excuse was always something about bills. Typically.
Well, what an excuse. Yeah, sorry, I need to pay the bills. You're living with me for free.
People have bills to pay. Everyone does. I finally remembered again today, and he's taking $1,700 in expenses. So I only get $3,300, and he wants to do it in 5 payments of $660. I got my first payment today, but with covering my dog's transportation, my friend to foster him, it set me back a bit. If you make a post, please...
Okay, sucks. I don't know what to tell you. Say goodbye to the dog, you know?
Just don't name me, as people on Reddit are stalking me because of this YouTuber, and I don't want to add fuel to their fire. Well, when this person talked about potentially suing me and bringing a civil charge against me for $1 million, I genuinely do not care about...
Oh, I forgot about that. I forgot that they were talking about suing Mudahar for defamation. That's so funny. They should have done it. It would have been great content for us.
These people. You know, I think it's insane that trying to do your best on the internet can oftentimes get you in with backlash from communities like Max's, who accuse you of not being,
Well, it's just virtue bullying communities of people who are just like, I'm doing something good, so everything I say goes type of people. And he obviously felt that way because he felt like he could cancel Moist Critical because he wasn't working with him enough or something, just dumb bullshit.
Thoughtful of victims, and then in some cases, when you're actually standing up for yourself, threaten to sue you. You know, Max, if you still want to sue me, I really don't care. I'd actually be down to go band for band in a courtroom. It wouldn't really matter. Anything to basically give you the actual just desserts that you needed in this situation. Because honestly, normally I don't take situations like this personally, but somebody who I opened up to as somebody I considered a friend at one point, yeah, I really, trust me, once the bridge is burned, this bridge has a personal point to it, and there's no rebuilding it, at least from my point. But yeah, Max and his whole situation, his whole story has sort of blown up. Now, behind the scenes, I will say that there is at least one person who had a case that I've, followed up from time to time, who actually seems to have gotten their life very much together. And while there's not much of an update, I would say, in the Cambridge case when it comes to law enforcement, I don't think there ever really is going to be, just because of how badly this one YouTuber messed up this actual investigation. And this serves as a cautionary tale as to if you don't know what the fuck...
Well, I mean, so I have never seen anything like credible that comes out of this, but like there may have just never been an investigation to ever fuck up in the first place. It seems like it's just a bunch of sensationalized garbage, but I could be wrong. I mean, if he's saying that there was potentially some girl that had something going on with her, I haven't seen it, so who knows? I'd want to see if there's an actual case for that, but maybe. It just kind of seems like a lot of this was sensationalized. It seems like this girl had a fucking boyfriend that was kind of a scumbag, and that's pretty much it. I don't know.
Fuck you're doing, don't get involved. But ladies and gentlemen, yeah, wanted to give you guys an update on Mama Max. A lot to talk about, but hopefully this answers some questions. Hopefully this satiates some people, right, who've kind of been, looking for a bit of a follow-up. But ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mudahar. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. I am out.
No.
Yeah, man, the update mostly seems to be that, like, Mama Max might have been working as some kind of an advocate or social worker. Personally, I don't necessarily think he should have lost his job or livelihood or whatever. Well, YouTube-wise, he should have. I don't necessarily know that I think that he should have lost his ability to work in that avenue. Maybe he was turning a new leaf, or maybe he wasn't. At the end of the day, I'm not going to have a fucking meltdown about it. It is what it is. Like, I'm not shitting my balls out over it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm surprised we even talked about this motherfucker. Incredible stuff.